Aggregation is a specialized form of association between two or more objects in which each object has its own life cycle. There is also no ownership in this class as in this relationship as well. And a class, there's no ownership between these two classes, but the student does have a class. So if you look at the verbiage here, we have a phrase that we use when we think of aggregation relationships, and it's has a. So a student has a class. And in this example, we have a whole-part relationship where the student is the whole and the class is the part. You could think of this the other way as well. A class has a student, and I could have multiple students, and the class is the whole and the student is the part. It just depends on how you want to think about it. Another example might be an engine, or a car might have an engine and it has a wheel. So you can see how we use that has a verbiage in order to describe an aggregation relationship. It's also denoted by this white diamond and this solid line, where the diamond is pointing to the whole and it's coming from the part. So here again we have this class is pointing to the whole, the student. So the student has a class that they're taking. Again, each can exist without the other. So if I destroyed the student object within my system, I would still have that class object and it wouldn't be impacted. And vice versa, if I destroyed that class object, it wouldn't do anything to my student class. Composition is also has a relationship, and it's actually a specialized form of aggregation. This one is in composition, if the whole object is destroyed, so this is kind of the opposite of aggregation in the sense that if the whole object is destroyed, then the part object also ceases to exist. So composition is actually a strong type of aggregation and sometimes referred to as a death relationship. So as an example, a house may be composed of one or many rooms, and if the house is destroyed, then all of the rooms that are part of that house are also destroyed. So again, it has an arrow pointing to a house and from the part. So this is the house is the whole and the room is the part, and the part is pointing to the whole. And it has a black diamond, composition does, and the part cannot exist without the whole. So a room in a house cannot exist without the house, right? We need the house to give that room context. Here's another example of composition. So here we have a person, and a person has a head, a person has a hand, a person has a leg. So these are all parts of a person. A dependency is a relationship between two or more objects in which an object depends on the other object or objects for its implementation. In UML, this is indicated by a dashed line pointing from the dependent or client to the independent or the supplier element. The arrow representing a dependency specifies the direction of the relationship, not the direction of the process. And so a supplier might be sending information to a client, but the client is obviously pointing to the object that it's dependent on. So this client is dependent upon the supplier.